What's going on, guys? I'm Brett. Welcome to Monsters and Madmen, the channel where we dive into horror, the people who live it, and the legends that refuse to die. Today, I'm joined by filmmaker Dustin Ferguson. He is a director, producer, and a writer who has built one of the most prolific careers in modern indie horror. He's done slashers, creature features, throwback grindhouse style films. Dustin has carved out a unique lane in independent filmmaking, indie horror culture, behind the scenes stories, challenges the low budget filmmaking. It's all stuff we're going to get into today. Dustin, thanks for joining me and doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, absolutely. So first things first, we're going to take it back here to the beginning. What first got you into horror movies and filmmaking? Was there a specific film or filmmaker that made you want to do this?
Well, I mean, yeah, I've just been a fan of horror movies my whole life. My parents showed me my first horror movies when I was really little. Alice, Sweet Alice, and Psychomania and Night of the Living Dead were the first three I saw on
Right.
VHS.
Yeah.
And they're still, near and dear to my heart. In fact, I'm doing a sequel essentially to Night of the Living Dead right now, Rebirth of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of come full circle. So yeah, I grew up just a fan. I was collecting them. I eventually actually I opened a video store. I had in Nebraska that I sold,
Okay.
and used the money from that to come out here to California to do this full time. And my intro to the business, actually, I was the editor of Sleepaway Camp 4. So I started out as an editor, and then that kind of became
Wow.
a filmmaker after that.
That's really, I did not know that you worked on Sleepaway Camp 4.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Um, so growing up, would you say were you more into like the mainstream horror, or were you always into the more underground stuff?
I think I've always had an appreciation for the independent cinema, the more artistic stuff. I've just kind of resonated with that more. Halloween was one of the earlier ones I saw, and that was an independent production. So I think that kind of paved the way for like my mindset with filmmaking for sure.
Okay, cool, cool. Um, and you have a massive filmography. How many films are you up to now? I know it's
I honestly have lost count. It's over 180.
yeah. What keeps you motivated to pump them out so consistently?
Just my passion and my love for horror. I feel like there's just not enough time in the day, and I have a lot of ideas, and I just can't get them out quick enough. And so
Yeah.
I do them as fast as I can make them.
Okay. Um, and walk me through your writing process for one of these. You make a lot of crazy films. So what does the writing process look like? Where do you come up with some of this stuff?
Um, you know, because I appreciate the genre so much, I'm inspired by, art inspires art. And so a lot of the stuff I do is sort of modeled after the stuff I grew up on in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah.
So I kind of have that sensibility when I approach my creativity, the creative aspect of this. Typically, it just starts out, with an idea, something that I really want to make, like a subgenre of horror or story I want to tell. And it'll be a couple days of brainstorming. I'll usually write out like an outline, that's about a page handwritten, and then when I'm ready
Right.
for the script, I sit down. I usually write a script in 2 days.
Wow. Okay. When you're writing that script, what do you typically focus on first? Is it like the concept? Is it the kills? Is it the atmosphere? What's at the top of your mind when you're starting this?
I think typically when I do the handwritten outline, I kind of have a good idea of like the tone, atmosphere, and the types of kills I want to do. And so really it's sort of just like a subconscious flow of creativity. Like when I sit down to start writing, it's just kind of like what's coming out while I'm typing because it feels natural and like what would happen in that scenario. Sort of like I've done this enough and I've seen enough horror movies that I can kind of like go through my head as each thing's happening. Like, well, in this scenario, this is probably what should happen next. So it's
Yeah.
very natural as far as like just letting it flow out.
Okay. And obviously there's a lot of restraints on indie horror filmmakers like yourself. How difficult is it to balance the creativity that comes with your films and what you're working with essentially?
I think initially it was difficult because I think when everyone's first starting out, they have these, grandiose ideas of what they want to make, and
Right.
movies in outer space and big space labs and all of that. And I think with time, you kind of like get used to working within your resources. And so it actually gets easier the more you do because you kind of can like work within your means and what you have available to you. So when I'm going in and writing my script, I know already what I have. So when I'm going to make the movie, I'm not having to like make sacrifices.
Okay. Um, do you have a production that was really specifically stressful that gives you PTSD from working on it, real chaotic? Anything like that?
Overall, the Meat Hook Massacre series is cursed, I'm convinced, because every movie has had some sort of major production issue during production, just totally random, completely different with each one. Every time because I haven't done all of them, I've done like half of them. So every time I do one, my jinx is it's a terrible rainstorm, completely out of season. Like, we
Yeah.
were shooting these things every time in the dead of summer because my intention was to give it like a Texas Chainsaw look and feel, like bright sun, the heat, like that sort of
Right.
thing. And it just pours the entire shoot from start to finish, and then the sun comes out when we're done.
One random
And
day,
so
right? The random day you
yeah,
chose to.
yeah, and, like, in the middle of July when it's supposed to be super dry here, it'll just be
Yeah.
pouring out of nowhere, and so I've just gotten used to it, and I've learned to work with it, and now that's sort of just the look of those films. They're, like, dreary and atmospheric and moody, so
Yeah.
it
Hey.
gives it a different look than I intended, so it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. You gotta take what the world gives you sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Um, how much would you say practical effects? How important do you think they are in horror today over CG?
I don't know if one is more important than the other. I think what matters is the way that you portray it, and how it's
Yeah.
executed. Because there's a really good CGI now. There's really good AI now. People can't tell the difference. So I
Yeah.
think it's really just how it's utilized. I think that practical with horror fans will always be, their preferred because it kind of goes hand in hand with like 70s and 80s horror and the gore and stuff like that.
All goes
So
back
I
to the
try and use it
nostalgia.
as often as what's that?
I said it all goes back to the nostalgia.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's funny because I think that there's this misconception that CGI is like really expensive and so people try and do practical, but honestly it's the other way around because practical has become such like a niche thing that it costs a lot of money to do like squibs and the blood and a fake arm and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're
It's
right.
so much easier to do CGI and AI now, so I think it's sort of like a preference these days.
Yeah. Okay. Um, what's your opinion on the current state of indie underground horror now compared to where you started? How different is it?
I don't know. In some aspects, it's more unified because of things like social media and the ability to bring us all together. But I
Yeah.
think in a lot of ways, it's resulted in sort of a division too, like more of a competition, because I think that people now are more aware of each other. They're more aware of what's going on around them. I think 20 years ago, when we were all doing this, we were just kind of in our own little world making our movies, with our clique. And now it's sort of like you see all these different filmmakers all around the world that are doing this. And it sort of like creates there's like a sense of camaraderie with some people, and with other people, there's a sense of animosity. And so I think
Sure.
that that's really, I think social media as a whole has been really what's changed filmmaking.
That actually leads perfectly into my next question, which was how important is networking and social media for what you do? It's got to be like one of the most important things ever, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially now because we're so reliant on social media and the internet, I find that a lot of my success become is because of my marketing abilities. I went to school for business management and got my degree in entrepreneurship, so I know how to run a business. And
Yeah.
so I approach my filmmaking that way. I market myself. I've got my posters, my clips, my trailers, the movies. I have a new movie come out every single month. I know how to distribute
Yeah.
all around the world through different people. And I think that those are the things that can keep me going as a filmmaker and keep me relevant and grow my career. It's something that I don't want to say a lot, but many filmmakers just don't have. They didn't go to school for business management. They're just artists that wanted to make films. And so that's as far as they can go with it.
Sure. Sure. Um, what's something that fans or movie watchers might not completely understand about the world of low budget horror? Because I feel like it's misunderstood in a lot of ways.
Um, a lot of it is that a lot of it's passion driven. We're doing this because we're fans. And so there's a lot of intention behind what we do. I think what's interesting is something I've kind of discovered with my films, over the years is that a lot of people will look at something that's like low budget or badly made and not often understand that the director's self-aware of that. Like I
Yeah.
think it's sort of like just like any artist, you start out the way you start out and then you grow over time. And so I've pretty much had my entire career out there in front of the public because I started, almost 20 years ago on Facebook. People have seen
Yeah.
my very first movie up to now, almost 200 movies later, and there's a
Right.
huge difference between those. And I think that um, something maybe that people just don't understand about it is that it's always a learning process. That this has sort of been my film school, is just putting out my crappy early stuff that had a lot of flaws and taking the
Yeah.
criticism, learning from that, and then becoming who I am as an artist now.
Sure. So, other than the movies that you've already done that were in the spirit of other classics, um, is there a horror movie or franchise that you would like to have worked on if you were ever presented the opportunity, or you would like to make like a spiritual successor to, or so be it? Is there
Halloween
anything?
3.
Halloween 3? That's a
Hell
good
yeah.
answer.
Halloween
That's
3:
a good
Season of the
answer.
Witch, it's like my favorite, it's one of my all-time favorite movies, and I think that
Yeah.
it's super underrated. I'm always championing it. I thought it was way ahead of the time, and obviously it ended with a cliffhanger, so it's perfect opportunity to pick up, 20 years later and show, like, what happened to the world after that. Like, I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity there, and no one would
I
expect it. Like, we've beaten Michael Myers to death, you know?
yeah. I've spoke about that movie to death with a good friend of mine. I always said if it was just called Season of the Witch, it would be an absolute classic today. People,
I mean, it still is an absolute classic,
it
people
is a
just don't know
classic.
it.
Exactly, exactly. If Michael Myers had no attachment, I feel like it would probably have been remade to death. There probably would have been sequels, and
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie.
It's
I
almost like
had a
people
hat.
they won't admit that it's good because it doesn't have Michael. They're
Exactly,
like, "Oh, it doesn't have
exactly.
Michael," and that's just where it stops for people.
Right. Um, what's your favorite subgenre if you had to choose of horror?
Mm, I'm kinda like a full moon flavor. I really like killer toy movies and killer
Yeah,
dolls. I think that stuff's really interesting, especially if you can utilize, like, stop motion effects and puppetry. I think that's really cool, just bringing that stuff to
I love
life.
stop motion. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, totally, and I think also killer animal movies because, again, like, when the animals are actors, that's super endearing and impressive to me. It's like, "They
yeah,
got that dog to attack that whole family on camera." Like, that's so impressive to me,
yeah.
you know?
And then, are there any horror trends that you're kind of tired of seeing in mainstream horror that maybe you intentionally shy away from with your films?
I think that there's this idea that with time, horror movies are supposed to get more extreme, and I mean, like, where does that really cap off at? I think that like the Terrifier movies, I know, for example, are known for how extreme they are. But to
Yeah,
me, that kind of gets boring because, like, I feel like the movies end up lacking in other areas. Because, like, for me, horror should be about mood and suspense and atmosphere and longevity and
right.
relatable characters. And I think when you're just ripping someone limb from limb and showing every gory detail, that could be like, to me, that's the equivalent of a superhero movie. Like, everyone's going to see it at first, like when it comes out, but then they're bored with it and they've already seen it and it doesn't have rewatchability because it's like,
Yeah,
how many times do you want to watch that same scene of someone be torn limb from limb? It's not really the story that's captivating you.
right. And I agree with you to an extent. I think that that was ultimately what kind of ruined the Saw franchise, going deeper
Right.
into it, because they stopped caring so much about the story, I'd say, after the 3rd one, and then it was just, "Let's see what we could do to these people," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and do you have any upcoming projects that you wanna plug before we wrap up?
Well, like I mentioned, we're doing Rebirth of the Living Dead right now. There's a
Yeah.
fundraiser that we're trying to get to 10K. So if people want to contribute to that, that'd be
Yeah.
amazing. Also, Cyborg Overture, I'm doing, which is Albert Pyun's last film. He wasn't able to complete it before he passed, so I've taken over that project. I just
Wow.
signed on to do Bloodstalkers 2, which is a sequel to the 1976 Grindhouse movie. And then I'm
Nice.
gonna be doing the first USA Up All Night, well, not USA anymore, it's just Up All Night, but Up All Night, made for TV movie, so
Oh, wow, that's really cool. Yeah, go support all that stuff, guys, especially donate to that yeah.
yes, the Indiegogo, please.
Yes, absolutely. Um, and then if people wanna follow your work and support you other than that, where can they do that?
Well, I've had some issues lately with Facebook. Not everybody knows I got disabled last week, so I lost all my following. I'm starting
Oh,
over. So I have a page. Yeah, it was ridiculous. They have a new AI surveillance system actually. So certain trigger words on your page can get it set off and it'll just disable you. There's nothing you can do about it. So I
great.
lost all my followers. I had to completely start over. So I have a page on Facebook under Dusty Ferguson, but you can also find me on Instagram as the only Dusty Ferguson.
Okay, I'll put all that in the description, of course, so definitely, guys,
Cool.
go give him a follow, check out all his work if you haven't. And do you have any final messages for any indie horror fans or aspiring filmmakers out there that might be checking this out?
Yeah, I think that no matter what, don't discouraged by what other people say. Don't discour get discouraged by the political environment or the politics of social media. Just go out and make what you do and be happy because that's really the point of life.
Hey, absolutely. That's a great message. Thank you. Yeah, Dustin, thank you so much for coming on the channel. This was an
Yeah.
absolute honor. It was amazing getting to hear your stories and your thoughts on the whole horror genre. It's horror is such a great thing because it's so subjective. So I like to
Yeah.
talk to people who uh, kind of know every angle of it, including the underground angle of it. So thank you for coming on and talking with me today.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Honor was mine. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And to everybody watching, make sure to go support Dustin Ferguson and remember to leave a like on the video, subscribe for more interviews and horror content coming soon. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, Dustin.